August, and we are live. I'd like to welcome you all. I was through the week have been doing a lot of research, and I thought, well, we started at the beginning, so let's start with the history of this because we've got people I don't think even realize how far back. So, first off, checkers goes back over 3,000 years. So it's 3,000 years. Mesopotamia is where it really originated from. And as we go by why or involved or whatever, uh, Sister Jane back in them days was to help form their armies, their navies, or whatever, all the men. And there's a queen, Hattusa. She was the one that gave that the first checker game to her army of men. Now, many people don't know that, which I didn't. I did a lot of history and looked a lot of things up. I know the Romans, the Egyptians, and the Greeks were ones that we could actually sit there and say were the first. People chess was first. No, it would come centuries after. When we talk about chess, when the Romans have their enemies come and they would have to strategize how they were going to win. Or they were going to defeat the enemies. They used certain things to strategize. That's where the chess piece came along. So as we got two games that are actually Takishi, we got two games that are probably um, what I call to look into the depth of them. Checkers was played with stones or pebbles on a 5x5 board. Usually didn't have boards. They used sand or dirt or just something. And when the wind would blow it, the pebbles would still be there. But then whoever was playing each other would get confused because there was a same. There was no difference. So this is where the berries, the purple berries, the red berries on one side, the dye, the pebbles. They began to learn how to tell the difference. And that's when to capture one, they would jump over it. Ah, I got that man. That's yours. Now it's mine. So then they started. This is 5x5. It's gone by 5x5, 8x8, 10x10, and 12x12. Through the centuries, things had changed to where people were, trying to figure out how to protect that game. Checkers and chess are completely different, but they're both strategies. So we know that. So now here we are. In the 11 AD, there was no boards, it was just sand. In the 1500s, this is where the drought, checkers was called draft or drought. Then the 1800s, there was a gentleman by the name of William Payne. Now, William Payne, he wrote the first book, which he changed everything. He changed the board, 12x12. He changed the color of the board. He changed the colors of checkers, and he made it so it's strategy, not just a kid's game. Then, within the centuries that went by, they made it red and black, which red and black is no good because black checker on a black square actually gives yourself, well, you can't, it's hard on the brain, you cannot see ahead, the geometry or where you're going to take your So this is where that the lime green, they change colors of many, and they come up with the lime green and the cream white. Now, as we know, 64, the very first, I would should say, the very first recorded tournament was in 1847 or 18, yeah, 1847 was the first one. The the very first book that was ever published about checkers was in 1547, and that was from a guy from Spain. His name was Antonio, oh, Tracomania or something like that. And the really first, I should say, the Commonwealth that played it most was UR, which today is Iraq. So Iraq come up with the things of playing and being able to step back and say, here is the rules of the game. You have to jump, blah blah blah. So around 1840, 1840, 1847, that's when competitive checkers started, where it was like a Sunday afternoon. Everyone dressed with their suits and their ties and their no women, all men. They take and they would go play competitively. I mean, really competitively. So I think the first woman that actually played was 100 years after that. So it was like in the 1900s. I think Joan Cause was one of the first women to win a women's championship. Then you get the Marine girls and on and on. But we're talking about checkers back in the Romans, the Egyptians, and the Greeks. They played many different styles. They played 10 by 10, which is a 100 square board. They played Go. I mean, they played pool checkers, which is our flying kings and things of the now we call pool checkers. And there's many types of this game. So my whole idea was is to look back at the past to see how many of around the world have played this game and didn't realize that it would be something so magnet like chess is it's multiple, I mean hundreds of thousands play it. Checkers, I think it's a unique game. I don't think you can ever solve it because 12 and 12, you don't play, it's a draw, they say. Oh, not. I mean, we could go back in statistics and look at the 1100s. They practiced this in the 1500s, 11 AD, the 15 before Christ, and very open to like you have one game that has an enormous history. I mean enormous. I think the Romans and the uh, would play against each other, and we got kids now that they say, well, as I was growing up, I played checkers. It's a continuance down the line. We all have played the game, but how many of us played it competitively? So I'm going to, as time goes by, I'm going to make pamphlets up of the history of checkers. I mean, it goes back to Persia, Romania, it goes back to Scotland, England. We got Africa. We've got Pakistan. We do have some in Iraq, I'm sure. I don't know any. We got uh, Turkmenistan, but the widespread knowledge of this game. Some will find it more competitive because there's the same on each side, which is true, and we have to work our way to team well. So my enormous history that I have been studying for the last week has become so enormous. There's not going to be just one. It's going to probably be two, the third next week. And I'm going to go over how each one of these projected and put together their game of checkers. Like, what was their game, how they played it. And I have found some things were so amazing that I didn't realize how it had came like now 12 by 12 American checkers. We've played it for years. I've played it for 27 years and not known that here we actually can see in the full bloom of a game that some say was a child's game that is now. We hope will bring more in so that we can actually help others learn how to play it and learn a little bit of history about it. So this is something you learn the history, you learn where it comes from, you know where it's going. In the future, we need to come back. So I hope that everybody understands this is the maybe the start of a global checker world. Hope you have a good night. We'll see you next week. Okay. Yes, it does. How are you, Alex? I'll be giving a lot more history of next week. Probably we'll go through like Persia and Italy, uh, just some of the. I found a lot of games back in the days. I didn't realize that there is a lot of how they played the game. So I'm hoping that we get to see and be able to go in the back in time to find out how it started, how it was played, how it was projected. Like, was what? How did they? What did they use? Pebbles, stones, no board, sand or dirt, making squares around it. They didn't need a board. Just to be able to see that, to see once in their eyes, I think that would be the greatest thing to go back in history and be able to learn something new. Well, for today, you all have a good night and thank you for coming. Hi, Richard. Well, yeah, the history is it's enormous. I just got started, and for about a week, Richard, for about a week, I have went through. You figure 3,000 years, 3,000 years of just bogged my mind that that's how this game has came up. Uh, Mesopotamia, who would have known? Checkers, it's practiced mostly by the ancient Egyptians. So Egyptians are the ones that have brung it. It is like the 14th century. A queen, I never knew a queen would start a checker game, but that's what happened. A queen, Atusa, is the one who started the checker game. So it was off the pebbles or stones, and her men of great warriors were the one that, you know, played it, I guess for relaxation. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet into it. But I find that it's very, that they've finally decided that if they're going to play a game, well, they're both the same side. They got the same color, same pebbles. They got berries and they did one side. This is how they're different. They show the difference. And yes, they jump the stones and they say, I got you. I got your man. I got your man. And this kept on and on and on. So that's part of the history. Oh, thank you, Richard. It's a work in progress, Richard. It's a work in progress. But yes, I think I want to continue this next week because I want to go back into the ancient Egyptians and Romans time, which a lot of info on that. It just you couldn't get it all together at once. But we do know where it drives, where it comes from, and that's one thing that's nice is to find out where it comes from. You put it together, and look at us. We're in 2025. My gosh, and it was like AD and before Christ. So very interesting subject to be able to pass on, and hopefully that passing on will pass it on to someone else. So, well, I will have to say that I am going to call it, and we will get back to you next week, the same time, and we'll continue the history of checkers. Thanks for coming. I'm Kim Willis, and I will be making pamphlets for the history lessons, and I'll get back to you, but see you next week.